Hi and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. Okay, this is Mailbag, common feature of the channel. It's where I attempt to answer questions that you guys have left on the channel, or if I can't answer them, I have a good go at answering them, or I throw them out to the wider Tubing community to try and answer on behalf of somebody who's raised the question. Now, we'll get into this mailbag. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next question comes from Alvaro Alpizar, and I know I've got your name wrong. And it's how to perform the factory reset on the Jupiter X video I did in July 2021. And Alvaro writes, nice, is the screen size being so small an issue to navigate at all? It just seems small for a modern synth. I've been wanting to add this to my collection. You are lucky, my friend, enjoy it. I would say there is a lot of information on the screen, and I would agree with you. I think the screen is too small, but it kind of blends into the Jupiter X. And I don't understand why Roland chose to put such a small screen on the machine. However, using the editor on your computer is actually a far easier thing to do. So you just really use the screen for system parameters rather than actually programming stuff. So you know, a lot of the programming is done by sliders and faders and stuff on the front of the machine, or you can do it in the computer editor. Here is my theory on this. I suspect the same display and possibly mounting board is used in both the X and the XM, and the XM is considerably smaller form factor. And they kept them the same to reduce costs. I think that is what it is. If you're using the same display, you don't have to change the firmware, so you can have the same firmware on both machines, which we know to be the truth. And it was touch and go whether I got to keep this machine. And the reason why it was seen covered up for so long behind me when I was making videos, because I just didn't know whether I was going to be able to keep it until one of the housemates lent me some money that allowed me to keep it. So I was able to pay off my credit card, which is what I bought it on. Now, as you guys know, I'm broke. You know, following a very expensive divorce and separation, and all the legal governments that went with it, there was no necessity for. It wiped me out. So I have to be very careful in terms of what I can buy and what I can't buy. And you know, if you guys want to support me on Patreon, that's very much welcome, because it goes towards buying the equipment that I use to do videoing and the lighting and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily go to buying synths. It actually goes to buying all the production gubbins that you need to actually run a YouTube channel in 2021-22. Anyway, thank you very much for the question. Next question from Sean Curran. In response to FBO1 mods made it clearer and slightly louder. A video I did in July 2021. And Sean writes, most of the USB floppy emulators I see in machines don't fit the original manufacturer floppy disk cutout in the chassis. They always stick out or are just a little smaller than the opening. I'm sticking with the DS and DD floppy disk for my older tech, which is the only two machines at the moment. The rest have USB, CSX or SD card readers natively. Yet another reason I love the clones, which is yet another reason I love the clones. Moving samples onto my IDA 2400 is easier than floppy emulators on the SP1200. Same will be said for the LM drum, which uses SD cards instead of EEPROM burner. Valid points again, Sean. most of these USB devices are churned out of a factory, possibly in China, to a very generic design. That's the bottom line. They're not designed to fit the instruments that you're trying to fit them to. They're just trying to fit a generic design. The reason they all look the same is, I suspect, that they're all made by the same company, and rebranded to fit a standard IBM PC slot, not a slot on a keyboard. So like an Ensoniq or a Roland or a Korg or a Yamaha. And the bottom line is they are dirt cheap, and people and why people have problems with them, where they have weird interfaces that often cause issues. So, for example, the Yamaha SY85 has an interface that has to convert from the standard pin configuration to a ZIF connector. Okay, and the pin out is not the same. Same on the EPS. The pin out is not the same. You have to modify the pin out. Now, the other side of this is drop shippers are just buying these things in bulk. They buy them on Alibaba or wherever it happens to be, and just basically try to knock them out as quickly as possible. And I've got to be honest and say, I am not a fan of the cheap drives. Okay, the ones with 2 or 3 digits on the front of it are absolutely useless. Right? You will get very fed up with those very, very quickly, unless you are very good at documenting your folders and your sounds that you store on the USB card, because you'll never be able to find anything. Believe me, I've tried. It drove me around the bend. Put the disk drive back in. Now, there are some of these devices where they actually have a proper strip on them where you can read the folder name. Now, if you can do that and you can read the folder and the sample name, then that's much better, and they're a much better device to use. So, I have to be honest and say, because of this, and because the cheap ones cost, let's say $20, and the more expensive ones are $100, I haven't done very much moving of floppy disks to these USB devices. Now, I know a lot of people out there will say, oh, you should move to a USB device, John, because that's kind of where we're going. And I will probably sort of over a period of time maybe do so. But at the moment, I'm sticking very much to the DD and HD disk setups I've got. I've got storage facilities for cloning the disks, so I can always create a new copy if the disk fails. So we'll see. But the new devices that are coming out, I agree, are going to be a damn sight easier to use than EEPROM burners.